Welcome back. I'm Vincent Perryman, and you're watching Legalese. Joining us on our show is William Jones of the Jones Law Firm, and we are discussing frequently asked legal questions. Before the break, we had gotten into different courts, and the last two in Shelby County as far as state courts to cover, and we've only really dealt with the civil side of it, not the criminal side of it, is Chancery and Circuit. So I'll just toss that over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling you during the break, when I was studying for the bar exam, the way that I differentiated between the two is Chancery is a court of equity. I would always remember when they went to build the pyramid, if you want to stop Sidney Schlenker from building a pyramid, you go to Chancery Court, and that's where you stop it because it's real estate and it's equitable. It's something that the court has the power to stop or hurt. If you hit me with your car and I wanted to sue you and it was more than the general sessions level of $25,000, I'd go to circuit. What happened though was it used to be circuit court was the only court that could hear divorce matters because they were a court of equity. Well, we've only got 3 divisions of Chancery Court here in Shelby County, and they were just getting overrun. So the legislature said in states where I think it's over 500,000 people is the population center, that Circuit Court and Chancery Court would both have concurrent jurisdiction, which simply means both courts can hear divorce matters. So when that happened, Circuit Court kind of became an equitable court where they can hear all of those matters, and that's probably where those 2 courts are probably where I spend the bulk of my time, and I think you're the same way.
Yeah. And it's one of those that pretty much, I think the only real difference that I see between those courts are real property issues generally are in Chancery, or if somebody's trying to get a injunction or a replevin action to get something back. And then the other thing that Chancery handles that none of the other courts do are tax sales for property taxes and things of that
I need to pay mine, speaking of which, I think.
Well, you're welcome for that reminder.
Yeah.
I'll send you a bill. So with that, I mean, those are the other distinguishing factor, I think, between General Sessions and probate in both Circuit and Chancery are probate, Circuit, and Chancery are all courts of record.
Right.
Whereas General Sessions, it's all oral pleadings, very different from that.
Now there's a flip side, because what we've talked about is we've started General Sessions, we've gone to probate, we've done Circuit, we've done Chancery. There are a couple other courts, and we don't really have time to go into all of them, but those are the courts that are housed within what you and I consider to be the courthouse. All of those courts can be found there, and that's at 140 Adams?
Yeah, it's 140 Adams, and it's also where Rudy Baylor and Dex Scheffler are standing in the cover of The Rainmaker, if you remember that John Grisham
Yeah, and
film.
I know the law library's been in a couple of movies. Right there across the street is there's a tall black building, glass, and that's where the bankruptcy court is. So if you're dealing with bankruptcy court, that's the building you're going to go to. Across the street, as we all know and love, is 201 Poplar, the cesspool of society, where you can go down there and pay your parking tickets or your speeding tickets, but also it's where if you get caught drinking and driving or a number of other criminal matters, that's where you're going to go.
And we've got 2 criminal courts there, basically. General Sessions, which are smaller matters, and then you've got criminal court, which is upstairs in the building, which are where you're going to have your big jury trials and things that are generally going to make the news.
And I think most people, when they think of 201 Poplar, they think that's the jail. And it is. But it also houses that criminal court system. But where I'm trying to get to is there's another court that we hadn't talked about, and it is not attached to any of them. Those 3 courts are all right there together. But down the street, on the other side of Danny Thomas, is juvenile court. And juvenile court has taken on a life of its own in the past.
Right.
Where it has just turned into something that I don't like going. I just don't like going to juvenile court.
It's a totally different world.
It really is. And what juvenile court is going to deal with is primarily if you're on the criminal side, if you're a minor and you commit a crime, that's where you're going to go. Where it's seeing its most work is because we have such a high single and unwed mother count here in Shelby County. They deal with child support, paternity, and visitation for folks that have never been wed. In addition, there's been some changes, and they now take all child support cases where anyone has ever applied for state assistance, which would be child support, or which would be food stamps, WIC, that school lunch program, TennCare. If you're not married, or if you are married, it doesn't matter, and you've applied for any of that, and you're trying to establish child support, juvenile court is now going to pull you over and take your child support case because they're trying to recoup.
Yeah, because the state is also a party in that.
They're trying to recoup what benefits the parents have received on behalf of the child. You think about it, if you've got health insurance, if I've got health insurance, but my ex-wife has TennCare for the kids, well, the taxpayers shouldn't pay for that. I should be paying for that.
And there's an interesting caveat with that, because if the person who is receiving the funds under the agreement between Chancery Circuit and juvenile court, if the person who has received that public benefit wants the case handled in juvenile court, then they can have it handled under juvenile court.
Right.
The question that we haven't seen answered in this, and we've got a case that's, well, I think it's being heard right now on this issue as we talk with one of my associates, is whether or not the non-receiving party can request that because it's a 4D case, it be heard in juvenile as opposed to Chancery. And I think the way that
that's an interesting question.
The language was written in there, it's one that it's pretty clear it's only the person receiving the benefit can take it down there.
But you can see how, and if you're at home and you're watching this and you're confused, you're not alone. Because we get confused sometimes, because you've got a system where mom and dad want to get divorced, they do what they should, they hire an attorney, they go to circuit court, and then all of a sudden we find out one of them applied for lunches at school.
Right.
And then you're going to add attorney fees, you're going to add time, and you're going to add chaos, because you're going to have to go over to juvenile court and hear the child support portion of your case, even though your divorce case is pending over here.
Right.
And you may have one hearing to determine temporary support for spousal support, but child support over here. It's crazy.
And the whole way everything's structured is the reason why you've got to have somebody that understands that structure, is educated about it, and you need help. So when we return from our break, we'll talk more about frequently asked questions with Bill Jones. Stay with us.